Okay, welcome to my very first UK Global Talent Visa educational webinar for 2026. My name is Michelle Hewer, and today I'll be talking about the UK Global Talent Visa in digital technology. I'll talk about the stage one endorsement application and process, a little bit about my packages of support if you'd like my support, my top tips. I was a recipient and now I'm a coach, so I can give you tips and wear my recipient hat and my coach hat as well. And then you can answer ask your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll get to it at the end. So please do ask as many questions, and I'll hopefully cover them already in my presentation. If not, I will answer all your questions. So um, we've got an hour and 15 minutes, but if you've got loads of questions, I will stay on and answer all your questions. So don't worry, I won't cut it off. And if you do have to leave, please leave, and then I will record this and upload it on YouTube. Okay, so just a little bit about myself, if you don't already know. I am Vietnamese by background. I was born in Vietnam, but raised in Australia. So I have an Australian passport and citizenship. I am also a British citizen as well by virtue of the fact that I had the Global Talent Visa. And I am also an Irish citizen because my husband is Irish and we actually live in Ireland at the moment. So I am a Global Talent Visa coach. In 2016, so 10 years ago, it's my 10-year anniversary this year, that I received my endorsement for exceptional talent. And shortly after my endorsement, I was the ambassador for the Tech Nation visa scheme, because back then in 2016, not many people knew about the visa. And so they needed ambassadors to share their story on how they received it. And then I did that for a few years, helping a lot of people, and then went back to working on my startup and then became a coach full time because I had so many people contacting me. In 2019, I received my indefinite leave to remain and citizenship. I went to the citizenship ceremony, and it was an amazing ceremony. I really enjoyed it. It was up in Newcastle because I was living in Newcastle at the time. So I spent 7 years in the UK. I based myself in Manchester and Newcastle, so north of England, but traveled a lot down to London as well. And I became quite entrenched in the tech ecosystem in Manchester, London, and Newcastle because of my startup, and because I was really interested in being involved in the tech ecosystem, because you get out what you put in. So I put in a lot of time and effort building communities, knowing what was going on. I needed to for my startup, but also to showcase that I was a leader in the field. And my field of expertise was wearable tech, because I had a wearable tech startup. I used to be an Australian solicitor. I did that for 7 years in Australia, and then became a tech entrepreneur when I moved to the UK. I started a blog actually when I first got my Global Talent Visa, and that went viral back in 2016. And then that's how I came to helping a lot of people, because no one really knew about it, as I said. So my blog went viral, and that's how people found me. And then over the years, I've coached over 1,000 tech entrepreneurs and senior execs and tech employees. My success rate is 90%. And while the time for endorsement can take up to 8 weeks, some of my clients have received a successful result within 3 to 27 hours of submitting. So yeah, that's a great achievement for them. And it's something that we really enjoy seeing when we get a result so quickly. But the average time is about 3 to 4 weeks. And the clients that I've helped over the years range considerably from big tech companies like WhatsApp, Sony, LinkedIn, Meta, Google, to startup founders, UX designers, digital marketers, cybersecurity experts. So you see the list, and it's varied, but this is why I love what I do, because everyone I meet has a different story to tell, even if they have the same title. No two applications are the same. And I help them bring out their unique attributes and list out their achievements. And it's a great process to go through. It is very stressful. I know, I've been there before, and I also help my clients through it, but it really is a reflective process at the end of the day. And just a quick disclaimer, I'm not not a solicitor in the UK or Ireland. I am only a coach for the stage one endorsement process because that's not an immigration application, and I'm not affiliated with the Home Office or Technation. So back in the day when I was a startup entrepreneur, when I was trying to do my, complete my global talent visa application, these are the types of things that I was doing to help me fulfill the mandatory leadership criteria. Back then, the leadership criteria wasn't mandatory. It was one of the optional. It's taken, it's had many iterations over the years, but it's still required you to show some leadership within the sector. And it's not just leadership within your own company, it's leadership within the entire sector. So I was interviewed, I was featured, I was asked to be an online hackathon judge. I was doing a lot of things, not only just because of my startup. I was doing lots of things for the industry and the community. I hosted and moderated panels, and I also sat on panels and things like that. So it's quite varied what I did, but I didn't just focus on working on my startup. And this was the blog. It's on my website. It's my story about how I got the Global Talent Visa, how I got my indefinite leave to remain, and how I got my citizenship as well. So you can read that all on my website. So after doing this for, 10 years, last year I hosted my first alumni event with my clients in London because I'd only ever met them online. And it was really nice to actually meet them in person, give them a big hug to say congratulations, even though some of them had received their visas, 5, 6 years ago. Some of them have got their indefinite leave to remain, but we just never caught up face to face. So I had some events that I ran in London last year, and it was just amazing seeing everyone and also bringing everyone together, a community that, are bonded by this stressful experience, but come out on the other side and just celebrating their achievements and just seeing what they were going on and what they're doing now is amazing as well. Promotions and buying houses and doing all sorts of things in the UK. So over the years, TechNation produced lots of updates and things like that. So last year there were lots of things going on with immigration, as you probably already know, and it's been quite stressful last year because of the white paper that was published. But have a look at the updates before you submit. They do publish them, but you have to go in and have a look at them on the website. So in January and August, there were changes to the guidelines. And I always check this right before any of my clients submit and continually check it just in case, because I don't notify you. It's just on the updates. So check that. The immigration white paper was also published in May. And there's a consultation period going on at the moment about the indefinite leave to remain and going from 5 to 10 years. And it's an earned settlement consultation paper. Now, with the Global Talent Visa, there is a proposal for an accelerated route to settlement, which the Global Talent Visa is already currently offering. And in the consultation paper, there should be no change to that. The only thing that they're consulting on is that, but mainly dependents as well, on whether or not they get an accelerated route to settlement. So that's going on. That finishes, that consultation period will end, I think, in the next week or so. So if you want to make any submissions, you should. And I will be making submissions. And then I think, we'll wait to see what they say. So yeah, there's loads of things that were happening, but TechNation is going to be the endorsing body for the next 3 years. That was announced in May of last year because there was a tender. So it's confirmed that they will be the endorsing body for the next 3 years under the Founders Forum umbrella. Okay, so the Global Talent Visa is a special visa. It was called the Exceptional Talent Visa, which I got, but it's just been rebranded to Global Talent Visa. It was introduced to allow highly skilled tech entrepreneurs and talent who work in the digital tech sector the ability to apply for the right to live in and work in the UK for up to 5 years. It's a two-stage process where you have to be endorsed by TechNation, and how you're endorsed by TechNation is you meet the strict criteria. And then once you are endorsed for stage one, then you move on to your immigration application, which is stage two. And that's when they do all the criminal record checks and things like that. But you have to be endorsed by meeting the criteria for stage one. It's more than a job application, even though it has lots of things and questions and criteria about your job. But there are things in there that you need to talk about that's outside of your job, which is what I talked about with all my leadership stuff that I did. And the hashtag TechNation Visa, if you see they were promoting it a lot before because the Global Talent Visa is an umbrella visa and it has lots of different endorsing bodies for different sectors. So there's arts, architecture, fashion, science, engineering, and digital tech. So digital tech is one of the sectors. So it's the Global Talent Visa in digital tech that I'll be talking about today. The benefits, and I can tell you I've experienced the benefits and all my clients have experienced the benefits, is freedom and flexibility to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. You can apply for indefinite leave to remain and citizenship. You can bring your dependents with you. You can register a limited company, and the main reason why a lot of my clients apply is that you can work anywhere without the need for a company sponsorship. A lot of people have skilled worker visas and a lot of people want skilled worker visas, but they can't get them. So the Global Talent Visa is a good route to consider. Even if you have a skilled worker visa, you can switch to Global Talent Visa and the time that you've spent in the UK under skilled worker visa counts. So I help a lot of people who have skilled worker visas, but they want to switch over to Global Talent. The visa is attached to you. So, even if you don't work at that company, it doesn't matter. You can work anywhere you want to. And it is cost effective. The stage one is cost effective. It's hundreds of pounds. It's £561 for the application. It's only when you get your endorsement that's when the fee is quite high, only because there's an immigration health surcharge, which is quite a bit, but it's per person per year. I think it's about 1,000, but it's for health it's for your health, the NHS fee, as opposed to just an application fee, which just goes to the government. So at least the immigration health surcharge is actually for something, and I paid for 5 years for mine, and I did use the NHS when I was sick, so it is useful. The real benefits, though, of the Global Talent Visa is it gives you credibility because TechNation, a government body, has endorsed you as an exceptionally talented leader or a promising leader in tech. It gives you a boost of confidence as well, especially if you are a startup entrepreneur like I was, and no one tells you that you're doing a good job because you're your own boss. And also it helps people who are working in their companies, and yes, your boss can tell you you're doing a great job, but this is an endorsing body, technicians, who are telling you that you're doing a great job and they want you to be in the UK. You have the confidence to ask for promotions now because you're not tied to that company. I've had clients that work for big tech companies and they were very unsure about whether or not to ask for promotions because, their company was giving them a skilled worker visa. So they didn't want to rock the boat and didn't want to ask for too much. But as soon as they got their global talent, my clients have been promoted 2, 3, 4 times, because they actually, have that confidence to ask for it. And if they don't get it, they can go somewhere else and they're not tied to the employer. They can negotiate their salary as well. They have more opportunities. They become an accidental role model for people in the tech sector and especially for people from their own countries as well. I have so many people, my clients, who do get the visa and then their friends come to me. They refer their friends and everything to me. So it's really nice that they become a role model, or their friends wait for them to get it and then they want to apply. So it's a really nice feeling to do that and to be a source of inspiration for your network. It gives you a bit of security as well. As soon as some of my clients received their global talent, they went and bought a house because they knew that the global talent visa leads to settlement, which leads to citizenship. So it gives them a bit more security in their next 3 to 5 years of living in the UK. So just some of the stats. There are people from 90 different countries that apply. It's great that's why I like to see what the diversity in the room is when I asked you at the beginning. So there's loads of people from different countries. Now, the endorsement rate, it was 54%, but I asked the Home Office last year, I did a Freedom of Information request and to ask for what the current endorsement rate is, because the 54% was many years ago when TechNation published it, but it's now 40%. So that's not great, but this is why it's so important to make sure that your application is structured very well and that, you should really get someone to check it before you submit, because you want to go in strong the first time. A lot of people do it themselves the first time, which is fine. But then if they aren't endorsed, then they have to reconsider and maybe apply the second time, which, might push out their timelines. So it's best to do it right the first time and seek help if you can. But that's the endorsement rate now, it's 40%. Out of that 40%, though, 65% have been endorsed with talent and 35% have been endorsed with promise. So I don't know if that means anything, but if you apply for talent and you get it, that's great. If you apply for promise and you get it, that's great. It just gives you stats on who gets it for talent and who gets it for promise. Over the years, there's been over 5,000 successful recipients. It doesn't seem like much over 10 years. It's been 12 years now since the visa came out. I got it 10 years ago. But I think also because when, in the first few years that it came out, I think in the first 4 or 5 years it came out, there were limited endorsements. So when I applied, they could only endorse 200 applicants per year, which isn't a lot. So that was a cap, but that cap has now been lifted. So if you do meet the criteria, you can be endorsed. So now, a lot more people are being endorsed, hopefully, but then with this 40% endorsement rate, it still keeps it down. And for male-female ratio, it's 75-25, just because tech is male-dominated. But I do help a lot of women in tech with their endorsements as well. And then if you do get endorsed, you join the Tech Nation Visa Alumni if you want to, which is separate from mine. But if you are my client, then obviously you can join my alumni. But I encourage you to join the bigger Tech Nation group alumni. They have meetups and things in London as well, so you can meet more people. So this is a report that was published a few years ago. I haven't got stats yet, so I need to check with the Home Office. They're not very forthcoming with stats. I had to wait quite a few months for the stats that I did ask for. So these are endorsement rates by country. They're just telling you what the stats are, but don't take it as gospel that, if you're from this country, it's going to be harder for you. It's just how well you put forward your application, what examples you're going to be using, how you structure your application as well. And these are the skills that they endorse. So there's lots of people in biz dev, marketing, product management, and then the hardcore tech skills as well. So the Global Talent Visa in digital tech is for people with technical skills and business skills as well. So it's not just for technical people. And here are some stats that I've been keeping tab of. I didn't have to ask the Home Office for this. I've just been keeping tab of it over the last sort of 10 years. When I applied, it was in 2016. So I was one of the top 50 that received my endorsement. But, that was because back then there weren't many people applying because I didn't really know about it. But and when I applied, it was around a 68% endorsement rate because obviously not many people applied. But now it's gone up over the years considerably. There was a big spike here when Tech Nation announced their closure. So everyone sort of panicked and submitted. And then obviously it was around COVID time around here as well. And then, yeah, it just keeps going up every year. This is the reason why it's 24-25 is because the year for them to count this is it starts from April to March of every year. That's what they do. So that's why this year, 2026, hasn't finished yet. It'll finish at the end of March. So you can see it's every year it just keeps going up and up. So lots more people are applying. It's highly competitive. Sorry. Oh yeah. So sorry. Yeah. So this is the stage. So there's two stages. As I said, the first stage is getting the endorsement from Tech Nation, and you submit your application to the Home Office. You pay your fee, which is $561, and then you've got to complete 15 documents, and you email your 15 documents to the Home Office. I know it seems a bit strange. In August of last year, they changed it to emails. Before, they had a portal where you upload your documents into this central portal, and then it goes to Tech Nation and they look at it, and then the Home Office sends you an email. But now that portal is not there anymore, and you have to email it to the Home Office. And yeah, it's quite interesting that they're doing it that way. When I did mine, though, I had to send it by post. So that was very painful as well. So email's not too bad. Then they have up to 8 weeks to decide whether or not you are endorsed or not. According to the guidelines, 80% are endorsed within 3 weeks and 20% are endorsed in 8 weeks. So so it's about a 3 to 4 week wait. It's not often that they take the full 8 weeks. I have had clients, maybe 2 or 3 clients, that had to wait the full 8 weeks, but generally it's about 3 to 4 weeks. They tell you if you're successful or unsuccessful. If you are successful, you go straight to stage 2. That's the immigration application. You just send them in your letter to say you've been endorsed, and then you go through the visa process. And the application fee is 192, and then you've got your biometrics and then that immigration health surcharge fee. So that takes 3 to 8 weeks, but it could be less. When I applied, mine was only 2 weeks. It depends if you're in the country, in the UK, or outside of the UK. So time, I think this part is very quick. A lot of my clients say that this process is quite quick, and you can expedite it as well, I think. I don't deal with stage 2. I only deal with stage 1. Now, if you are unsuccessful, the assessor provides feedback and they tell you whether or not you've met all the criteria, or if you've met, they endorse you on one criteria but not the other two. So they give reasons why they have not endorsed you, and then you appeal on the grounds of why they haven't endorsed you. You've got 28 calendar days to send in your response, and then they have 28 calendar days to come back to you. And then when they come back to you, either you are successful, which is great, and then you go to stage 2. If you are unsuccessful, then you can look at their feedback, because you'll have 2 pieces of feedback, and then you can decide whether or not you can resubmit based on the feedback. You don't always have to appeal. When I work with clients, we always appeal to get further feedback, because it goes to another assessor, and the second assessor looks at it again. So, but the grounds of appeal is that the assessor made a mistake in the application. So it's not because you didn't like the decision, but that the assessor made a mistake. Okay. And I help with a lot with appeals as well. So eligibility, as I said, you can be technical or business. So have a look at these specialisms, and they're not exhaustive, but if yours is outside of this, have a look which one applies and pick the closest one. If you're technical but you don't work for a if you work for a non-technical organization, you're still eligible. If you're non-technical, so if you're a business applicant, you have to be working for a technical organization. So if you're business and you don't work for a technical organization, then you're not eligible. So I know it's confusing, but I can go through that with you in your own cases as well. And the ones that definitely aren't eligible are people who work for consultants. So consulting companies like the likes of, White Pro, Tata, Capgemini, they're more outsourcers. They're consultants. They advise, potential product-led companies. They don't actually do any of the work themselves. They're advisors. So unfortunately, if you're working for a consultancy, you wouldn't be eligible, so you can't even pass the first step. But if you are eligible, then we'll look at seeing whether or not you meet the criteria, and that's what I'll be going through in a second. So even if people are eligible, then they go into the criteria and see whether or not they'll meet the criteria. And sometimes I help people who are eligible, but they don't meet the criteria, either because of where they've worked, or they're just not ready. They don't have enough evidence to meet the criteria yet, because there's 15 documents that you need to submit. So I'll go through that. And it's okay. I help clients that look at this as a long-term strategy. So if they're not eligible, or sorry, if they are eligible, but they're not really meeting the criteria just yet, they might just need some time to build the evidence, and at least they've got the criteria to work off. And I work with clients for, a year or two, talk to them, see what they're at, guide them, and then they come back in a year, and then they might be ready to apply. So just because you're not ready right now, just hold up, wait, see how you can be ready to apply, and then make it your long-term strategy. Okay. There are 2 categories in which you can apply. It's the talent or promise route. Now, those with more than 5 years experience should really go for the talent route, and those with less than 5 years experience should go for the promise route. I'll get a lot of questions that if people are more than 5 years experience, but they don't really have much to meet the criteria, can they go for promise? No, not really, because if you're more than 5 years experience, you should really have a level of expertise. Those with less than 5 years experience are more students, graduates, and more junior in their career. So they're not expected to have 5 years worth of experience or more, and they can, show more about their leadership skills and impact and things like that. So it's just because they just don't have enough years in them, but they still would be considered if they have the right evidence. So those with more than 5 years experience should be senior leaders, managers, CTOs, CEOs. Those with less than 5 years experience, you can show your potential to be a leader through your skills and achievements, and they can be students, graduates, or more junior. Okay. Now, this is really important. The definition of a product-led digital technology company, that's in the guidelines. If you have a look at the guidelines closely, they really focus on product-led digital technology company. And what does that mean? The guidelines provide that it's defined as a business that provides a proprietary, so something that they've developed themselves, digital technical service, product, platform, or hardware as their primary revenue source. So they have to be developing their own products. Okay, they create software, processing and storage of data, or the creation or application of technical computing hardware is often the central aspect of their business model. So if there is a company, if you work for a company that has a consulting arm and a product arm, but that consulting arm makes a lot more revenue than its product arm, then that wouldn't be considered a product led. So it's up to you to convince the assessor that it is product led, that it doesn't do, over 50% of consultancy. So through letters and things like that from the experts who you probably use, the CEOs or people, senior leaders, to confirm that it is a product led. That yes, it does have a consulting arm, but the product arm is what generates the most revenue. And it excludes product-led digital technology company, excludes the consultancies and outsourcers, as I said. So you can't include any of that in your examples. Okay. So as I said, 15 documents. Out of the 15 documents, the 5 that everyone has to provide is your CV, your personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendations by experts in your field. They can be your bosses and people that you've worked with, but what they're also looking for is people outside of who you work with on a day-to-day basis, and anyone who can vouch for your expertise in the industry, not just in your day-to-day job. Okay, and then you need to provide 10 documents that meet the mandatory and optional criteria. And these are different because you've got 5 criteria. The mandatory is mandatory leadership, but then you've got 4 optional criteria, but you only choose 2. Okay, so you don't have to choose all the options because you won't meet them all, and also you don't have space. So there's 1 mandatory criteria, 4 optional criteria, and you choose 2 out of the 4. So you only choose 3 criteria. Okay, and 3 pages is your limit per piece of evidence. So 3 pages times 15 documents should be about 45 pages plus all the CVs and everything from the experts. So it could be a 60 page PhD of your career, and that's what we call it. Okay, so you can go for talent or promise. Okay, that's what you tick first. So, once you tick that, the difference is that if you apply for talent and you get talent, in 3 years you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. That's the current guidelines. But if you select promise, it means that in 5 years you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. So the difference is in 2 years. Okay, I got the talent, so yeah, back then when I applied, they didn't really specify the difference between talent and promise. And there was no 5 and 3 year thing. I just selected talent because it was called the exceptional talent visa. They didn't really tell you the difference and tell you what it meant. But I got talent, and then the guidelines then came out to say that in 3 years I could apply for indefinite leave to remain, which I did. So that was a big plus for me. Okay, so the mandatory criteria is your leadership, or if you're going for talent, you showcase your leadership. If you're going for promise, you show how you're a potential leader in the field. And the difference isn't much. It's basically, if you're a potential leader, then you still have to show leadership skills. It's not like you don't have to show any and that you want to become a leader when you get to the UK. They won't accept that. They want you to show that you're already doing leadership type things. So, for example, if you were a few years out from your career, maybe 2 or 3 years out, you could showcase that you're speaking at meetup groups, and potentially universities, because that's where your skill set is, it's quite junior. They wouldn't expect someone with 2 or 3 years experience. I mean, you can if you want to, but they wouldn't really expect someone to go into a big industry tech conference, speaking to 1,000 people, if you've only got a few years experience. That would be reserved for more people with more than 5 years experience with leadership. So, obviously you can try, and I've had some of my clients that have done that with only a few years experience, but usually if you've only got 2 or 3 years experience, you can start somewhere. You can start with the smaller meetup groups and community groups, but making sure that they are still tech groups, that you showcase your leadership skills. Okay. And then out of the 4 optional criteria, you choose 2. So the 4 are, the first one is innovation, so showing your innovation. Second one is your proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector, so volunteer work. Optional criteria 3 is showing significant technical, commercial, entrepreneurial contributions to the field as an employee of a product-led digital technology company. And 4th is academic contributions. So this isn't about, if you were doing a master's thesis, it doesn't include that, because you're doing your thesis to get your master's. This is more about something extra. So you're doing some kind of research paper that gets published in a journal, and you make some significant impact to the academic community, not to get a degree like you would doing your master's. Okay, so it's got to be in addition to your master's. And each of these criteria, because you've got 10 documents, you could probably choose 4 examples of leadership. So showcase 4 examples, 3 pages each. So that would be 12 pages. And then for these option criteria, you have 3 examples with the criteria that you select. So if you select option criteria 1, you need 3 examples of innovation, 3 pages each. That's 9 pages. And then if this one suits you, OC3, you provide 3 examples of impact, 3 pages each. So that's nine. So you would have 4, 3, and 3, which is 10 documents. Okay. And then your 5 documents is your CV, personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendation. It can be confusing, but I hope that makes sense. You can ask me questions if you like. Okay, so I'll quickly go through all the criteria now. So the mandatory criteria is like the most important, I feel, because it's about your leadership. And they want you to showcase within your application that you have been recognized as a leading or potential talent in the digital technology sector. So the potential is the promise, leading is the talent. So they're saying that to showcase your leadership skills, a leader is of exceptional talent or promise. They must show extraordinary ability by sustained, consistent, or emerging potential national or international recognition. So this national international recognition can be problematic, because you can show leadership within your company, but does it really show national or international recognition, or is it just internal recognition within the company? So you need to really think about that and really split out the difference so that you can meet this criteria. You have to demonstrate a level of expertise or emerging expertise which places you at the forefront of your respective field in the digital technology sector. So they're wanting you to take it outside of your day-to-day job. So as I said, there's a difference between internal and external leadership, okay? There's 10 examples that's provided in the guidelines. So organizational and product leadership is internal. Thought leadership is external. Marketing and biz dev. So if you help with revenue, customer growth, commercial success, that's internal leadership, because that's helping a company obviously make money. So number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're all external if you have a look at it. Open source projects, industry awards, not company awards, industry awards, speaking engagements, published in major trade publications, high salary. Actually, high salary is internal, but if you're choosing evidence under high salary, they also want you to choose optional criteria 2 as well. Number 8, if you are a panel speaker at an event. Number 9, if you're a judge. As I said, I was a judge at a hackathon. And 10, if you're leading any large technology-led industry initiatives. So you only need to provide 3 or 4 examples of this, and the examples you can is letters of support together with either news clippings, your actual awards, promotional material of you speaking, any lines of code for your open source, any articles that you wrote or were interviewed in. Some of my clients have been featured in media and press. They've also written some books, if they were featured in some media and press, and any interviews that they made. So this might sound overwhelming, and it can be, especially if you're so focused in your day-to-day job. This process makes people really look at what they're doing currently and whether or not they should be doing more than what they do get paid for. Because, as I said, this is like a job application, but it's not really when you look at the leadership criteria. Anything that you publish yourself on LinkedIn, Medium, Substack, or anything like that, those are your own platforms which they won't accept. So it needs to be on third-party platforms. Now, it's not to say that you shouldn't publish on your LinkedIn. I published on my LinkedIn and on YouTube and on, my own platforms, but that's what got me started. I published and published and published, and then these other platforms started recognizing me as a leader, and then they started inviting me to publish on their platforms. So this is where I said this might be a long-term strategy for you. So if you want, start with creating your own community, start with creating your own thought leadership, then you can be a bit more proactive and contact third-party publications, or they might contact you because, people are always looking for content writers, and to showcase your thought leadership and things like that. So have a think about that. Don't shy away from it. Don't discount it. I did it. It worked for me. Otherwise, you can go straight into third-party platforms. But yeah, try to start on your own platforms first. Now, this is where personal branding comes in as well. If you start on your own platform, because you're trying to raise your profile, and it's not really about self-promotion. I know it sounds like, it sounds like a dirty word, self-promoting yourself, but it's about showcasing your expertise. So personal branding it's an intentional effort to create a public perception of you by positioning yourself as a leader or authority in your field. If you're not going to do it, no one else is going to do it for you. And it's not about bragging. It's about highlighting your strengths and establishing your reputation, building trust, and communicate your unique attributes that you bring to your current or desired industry. So when I started, I didn't really talk about, my strengths and my achievements. I did it through sharing my knowledge and expertise. And that there lies in highlighting what I knew and that I was sharing it with people for free, obviously, because I was writing content, and giving them, bits of my knowledge and expertise and opinions, so that they could think about, what the industry was doing themselves, or if they didn't know, they would just come to me because I knew what was going on, because I was writing a lot about it and educating them. So it's hard to do because it's almost like you've not done it before, and it's really hard when you start. But the more you do it, it's almost like exercising. If you keep flexing your muscles, it's going to be easier in the long run. You just have to get out of your head to say, who wants to read my work? As I said, everyone has a unique story. Everyone has different skill set, and you have some things to say. You've been working in the industry, so you should know. You should have some expertise. And if you don't, do a lot of reading, see what other people are writing about, and obviously you should have an opinion. You could agree with them or you can disagree with them, or, read a lot of articles and summarize them all. It's like writing a paper. So people who are so busy, they don't have time to read 10 articles, you're summarizing it in, 1 page for them. So it's just little things like that. Thought leadership is about sharing your insights and ideas and a unique point of view that provokes new ways of thinking, sparking discussions, debates, and inspires action. A true thought leader knows a topic inside and out and has formed a clear, unique, and defensible point of view about it and freely shares that perspective. So have a think about the types of things that you know through the work that you've done, and you can share your knowledge, and insights, and start, exercising and flexing that, and then hopefully, publishing it on LinkedIn, people are starting to read it. Your network, they're there because they like you, they want to know what you're doing, they want to know what you think, and they'll probably like a lot of your blog posts as well, so you can get a bit of traction there. So this comes to my leadership in tech course, which I created a year and a half ago, because I spoke to so many people who didn't have any of the leadership skills, or they didn't know how to sort of, create them, the evidence that's required. So I created a course. There's loads of things about the leadership criteria, but also outside of the leadership criteria, it talks about, you know, your strengths and achievements and building resilience and confidence and things like that, because it is about that. People are scared. As I noticed that people are scared to share their knowledge and expertise and insights. But you shouldn't be scared, because you should share it. No one's going to laugh at you, because it's your own experience, and you've got to be confident to share that with the world. I also go through in detail the internal and external leadership criteria and the types of examples that would be required. I also share some of my clients' examples as well, and how to structure that if you're interested. And I've got a few workshops and things like that to help you. With building your leadership evidence as well. You'll also get a 45-minute coaching call with me to determine your leadership strategy. I've done a couple of them already, which is really useful, because you can go off and do all these things on your own, but is it really for the purposes of a global talent visa, or is it suitable enough for the global talent visa? Or are you just doing all these things and hoping that it will be accepted? I know the types of evidence that will be accepted. And one example, which I like to mention, which a lot of people don't know about because the guidelines have changed, is a lot of my clients have done mentoring, and that's great. Um, you should be mentoring, as part of your tech, giving back to the community. However, for the purposes of the Global Talent Visa, the guidelines have just changed that online mentoring is no longer acceptable. I mean, I did loads of online mentoring and I use that as examples, but now they're not accepting online mentoring, they're only accepting physical mentoring. So if you went away and did loads of online mentoring for the last year and you come to me, I'll be like, I'm sorry, you can't include that in your Global Talent Visa application, because they're not accepting that in the guidelines. So it's these types of things that, I need to help steer you in the right direction, that yes, if you want to do mentoring, do physical mentoring. Online mentoring is not going to be accepted. So, maybe I've saved you a year of doing that. So just have a think about it. Having the right guidance will get you going faster, and to, pinpoint exactly what you need to do. And hopefully you'll enjoy it in the process. I really enjoyed it when I first started. It was scary at first. I started small, and then I got invited to loads of conferences and interviews and things like that. And I got more confident the more I did. Right. Now let's go to the innovation criteria. So this is the optional criteria. There's four and you choose two. So the innovation criteria is a proven track record for innovation, or examples as a founder, senior exec of a product-led digital technology company, or an employee working on a new digital field or concept. And the guidelines have changed, that they used to accept patent pending publications, but now they want published and granted patents. So just be careful with that one. This is the hardest criteria to meet, because it's subjective. Like, who determines what innovation is? You're asking the assessor to determine if it's innovative if you don't have a patent. So you need to show evidence of proof of innovation and product development, proof of product in the market and any revenue, and domestic sales and numbers and things like that. And it's got to be attributable to what you did as well. So it's always useful to also benchmark it against the industry as well, because everyone thinks that their product is innovative, but if you benchmark it against the industry, that's when you'll truly know whether or not it's innovative. So that's the innovation criteria. The second one is proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that contributed to the advancement of the field. So this is volunteering work outside of your day-to-day job. And I put high salary. So if you choose under the leadership criteria, if one of your 4 or 3 documents shows high salary, you should also pick this criteria to help fulfill that mandatory criteria, high salary, because you need to show that you've done work outside of your day-to-day job. This is voluntary, community, unpaid work. Again, mentoring, but it's got to be structured programs and it's got to be physical. Mentoring at universities and startups are not accepted as well. and they can't be sponsored by your company. So it's got to be outside of your company, because a lot of big tech companies offer, opportunities to do some work with an organization that they're partnered with. But the guidelines provide that that's sort of still part of your job, because they're giving you time off, and it's related to the company. They want you to do it separate to the company. Okay, so any STEM programs, any conferences that you speak at, this is very similar to the mandatory leadership criteria as well. This is why I bang on about the leadership, because anything that you do in leadership and you've got too much evidence, you can push over to the optional criteria too, but you need to show how you advance the sector if you choose this criteria. Okay. The third criteria is optional criteria 3, significant impact. So you need to show that you've made significant technical, commercial, entrepreneurial contributions to the field as a founder, senior exec, employee of a product-led digital technology company. So a lot of my clients do their work, but they don't stop and look at what the impact that their work has made to the company in terms of revenue, products launched, and what's the knock-on effect of what they did. So this is why it's quite a reflective process. I have to tell my clients to go back to look at what impact that their work made to the company. So this is about metrics, growth, analytics, and revenue. Any independent evidence that you have, so if there's any articles written about products that you were directly involved with, and talk about what you did. So it's I versus we as a team, because everyone's used to talking about we did this, we did that. But you have to be comfortable with saying, I did this, I did that, I led this project, I led the development of this product. The reason is because I've had assessors feedback to say that, they weren't sure what work the applicant did, because all they did was talk about teamwork and what we did and what, so just be mindful that this is your application, not your team's application. And the default is to say we, but every time I see that, I cross it out and say I. Okay. And look at what happened before and after you worked on the project, because that is your impact. Okay. Any scalability, any company awards won, any fundraising as a result of what you did. And if there's any publicly available information that connects you to the work that you did for your company, that would be great. And if you're named in that, that would be good as well. If you've got any KPIs, proof of KPIs, and that you met those KPIs, any internal documents to showcase that, and verified by employment letters as well. Okay, and then fourth one is academic contributions. Not a lot of people choose this unless they're research-based, but you got to demonstrate your exceptional ability or examples in the field by academic contributions through research published or endorsed by an expert. So anything that's published in journals, any R&D grants or innovation vouchers, letters of support from professors as well. I chose this criteria because while I was creating my product for my startup, I partnered with a university who was doing something similar. So they helped me with my product, but then they were able to write a piece of research about what they did with me, but obviously confidential. But they wrote me a really good reference to say that, what they did with me helped in their research as well. So you need at least 3 examples of this, so including the letter from the professor. And this letter is not included in the letters of recommendation, that the 3 that you have to provide. This is extra. So I help a lot of clients with this one as well, and I did it myself, but I understand that not everyone chooses this, and you don't have to. Okay, so just quickly about the changes. The main thing I want to stress is ChatGPT. Okay, they do not want you to use ChatGPT, and I know a lot of people use ChatGPT. You can, maybe use ChatGPT to inspire you for things, but in terms of writing your application, try not to use it. I had an assessor come back to a client. I didn't help him, but he came to me after he was unsuccessful, and in his feedback, it said it appears that AI tools were used in this application. And it may be the case that they run your application through an AI tool checker, like Zero GPT. I tried to make my clients go through that so that I can check if it's gone through any AI, if they've used any AI tools, because the guidelines say don't use it, and then assessors can see that people are using it, so they must be using some kind of checker. So try not to use it. I don't use it. I write everything from scratch from what, I read for my clients. And also when I read some documents, I can tell if it has been written by ChatGPT. It's just some of the words they use and just the language, and I can tell. So, and I'm sure the assessors can, because the more they read, the more they can spot things. I don't read half as much as the assessors read, but I can imagine that they will be checking for these things. So please try not to use it, because that might be a reason for not endorsing, and you don't want to risk that. Um, Links, people just put links all throughout their documents. Don't just put links unless you're actually screenshotting the image and then sourcing it by putting the link there. And then you've only got a 3-page limit, so don't condense everything like 5 pages into 3, or just try to make it as visible and as appealing as possible, but don't squeeze everything into 3 pages. They will reject that. Okay, so my top tips. This is your chance to tell your unique story. The 15 documents that you're submitting should really it should really be really a storytelling process. Each piece of evidence tells a story about you. And then when they sit down and read it, or when we sit down and read it, you can kind of get a sense of who you are as a person through your CV, your personal statement, all your letters, all the examples of the projects that you've worked on. So it should read nicely, it should flow, evidence should connect with each other. It's not just something that you're trying to get the assessor to make sense of what you've submitted, because I've read a lot of applications where I don't know what's what. So, make it really clear and easy to read. Otherwise, the assessor's not going to follow what's going on. Your tech network is your net worth, because you're relying on people to support you and writing letters for you to support you in what you've done to in your tech career and for the tech industry. So I have clients that, go back and contact people that they haven't spoken to for years, and it's great because they're they're able to reconnect with people that they used to work with or used to know, and it's really nice to see that connection happen again, and that they support them. This process is about self-promotion. If you don't say how great you are, the assessor's not going to see that. So you just have to highlight your strengths and your achievements. And it's not about bragging, it's saying fact. It's what you did. And this is why the metrics is important, because you can't, numbers don't lie. So you're not bragging, you're not, promoting yourself unnecessarily. You're just telling fact. And you have to remember that, because it is uncomfortable thinking that you're bragging about yourself, especially when you come from a culture like mine, where we always are very humble and grateful and not bragging or talking about ourselves. But in this situation, you kind of have to, and I'll help with that. Being eligible is one thing. Meeting the criteria requires a strategy and putting together all 15 documents. Okay, so even if you're eligible, you might not meet the criteria, or some people do meet the criteria, are eligible, they meet the criteria, but they're not structuring it in a way that the assessor is looking for, using the language that's needed. Contact me sooner rather than later if you need support. I can review your application or have a strategy session with you to guide you so that you know where you're going. And then check the change log for updates as well. It's really important, because like I said with the mentoring one, if you were doing online mentoring and then the guidelines change and you didn't check, and then you submit and then it comes back saying, sorry, online mentoring is not admissible, it's only physical, then you could have changed your evidence. So please do check the change log for updates. Don't assume the assessor knows anything. Assessors don't click on links, and they assess you and your experts as well. So you have to prove the credibility of your experts. You can't assume that they know that your experts are experts. You have to prove that in the letters that they write about themselves, and have a good CV and LinkedIn profile. I help with a lot of questions like, am I eligible? How do I present my documents? What's relevant information? Who can be my experts? How do I show my innovation impact? Where do I start? And I help with appeals as well. I've got 2 that I have to look at. They're coming in thick and fast now. It's not great because it's just the new year, and there's lots of unsuccessful decisions, so we have to work through them all. So yeah, I help with that as well. So if you want an eligibility call, have a look at my website. It's very comprehensive. My website is all about the Global Talent Visa, and there's loads of resources available there as well for you. These are some of my packages of support. My Leadership in Tech course is the new one. It's online, but you get a free 45-minute leadership strategy session with me. If you want just templates and things like that, and you want to do it yourself, you get access to my membership area for $7.99. But then the real support will start if you are eligible, and if I feel like you're meeting some of the criteria, is a strategy session, and that strategy session includes all access to my online courses as well. And then if you want me to review your application, I can do that, and that includes a strategy session, and that's part support. I can help you before you submit, guide you a bit of the way, but you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting yourself here. But my premium coaching package is end-to-end support for stage one. You get weekly meetings with me. I keep you accountable, and we work on 2 documents each week for 8 to 12 weeks, depending on your time frame and how busy you are. And this is my most popular package, and I help people with that. And then I also help with appeals as well. So my last tip is start working on your external thought leadership now. Okay, you have to build your evidence to improve your confidence, maybe your job prospects because you're looking for work, and the GT stage 1 endorsement process application. It all kind of links in together. So many times my clients say to me, I'm so glad you helped me with my CV and the whole global talent visa process, because I'm using all that to go for interviews and to help me with my job seeking efforts. So it all kind of links. You might not see it until you start doing it, but it is. And it is a lot of work. But if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. And it's for the global talent visa, but it has many, many other purposes as well. Okay. I hope that has helped. I know I went through a lot, and oh, we've still got time, so I didn't go over too much. And I hope it has helped. And I've got loads of questions here, so I'm going to go through some of the questions. If you can give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my webinar, that would be great, while I look at some questions. And I hope I've answered some of them as well. Okay, thank you. I love all the emojis coming up. It makes me feel happy. Thank you. Okay, so